Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler, and this time we're taking a look at something kind of odd. It's kind of a home video adjacent, as we've come to call it in the Star Wars Home Video Facebook group these days. Something that is marketed using the nostalgia of old school home video, like 1980s and early 1990s type home video, but is not a home video item in and of itself. So of interest to collectors who pick up that sort of thing, but not to those who are purely into, home video only, nothing adjacent, nothing marketed towards home video collectors that isn't home video itself. I know I'm kind of talking myself in circles. It'll make sense here in just a second. It's actually something similar to what we saw about a year ago in 2023 with episode 479 on the channel here, which was at the time to look at this. This was when Rock'em Socks put out a little limited edition set of socks, 100 created, individually numbered on the case, that were in a case designed to emulate a VHS cassette, but inside it's just socks. Well, turns out that whereas this was celebrating the 30th anniversary of Return of the Jedi in theaters, we had another big anniversary this year, the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace being in theaters. And sure enough, they've released another, also limited to only 100, but not individually numbered, which was somewhat of a disappointment this time. That is this. Okay. Now, before we even look at this in detail, I want you to look at that label there. Okay. So what does this label look like? Well, the label is designed to essentially emulate this. This was the 2000 US VHS full screen release of The Phantom Menace, right here. Really, the only thing that's missing is the fact that this, on the bottom of that label, does not have any THX stuff on it, but effectively the same setup here. You may recall, though, that these were just sort of regular printed labels on the actual cassettes for the US in that era. However, not all regions worked the same. You might recall that we also looked, I keep saying you might recall, maybe you do, we also looked at the Japanese full-screen release, and widescreen, but that's put away here. We looked at this full-screen release out of Japan. It looks very, very similar here, just a little bit of Japanese text instead of the Phantom Menace and all. But I hesitate to use that. You may recall again, but remember the labels were basically designed to emulate the cover art. So what we actually have here is something that stylistically more closely resembles what we saw out of Japan in 2000, just in the sense of using the cover art as the label. But anyway, so what we've got here, again, it looks like a VHS cassette, has all that stuff up at the top like you'd expect with the cassette here, has the label. The label is just, again, it's just like the cassette. Says Star Wars The Phantom Menace with the one behind it, the mall eyes, little image there. Does have the 25th anniversary of Phantom Menace symbol down there, designed to look like worn sticker. On the one for Return of the Jedi, it was down at the bottom of that label where it had the individual hand numbering. No such thing this time around, unfortunately. The back is designed to look like a VHS cassette as well. Not really anything for top or bottom there. The flap here, just a flap. There's nothing fancy about it. Not meant to look like a cassette or anything as far as that goes, but there's not really usually much on the back of it. Says that maybe a barcode sticker anyway. And then this side is going to give us our spine. Again, designed to kind of look like the spine of one of those initial releases. But not the actual cassette spine, right? The cassette spine, which is that printed stuff that we typically see. And even if you look at the Japanese one, no. So it's not that it's emulating the spine of an actual cassette, but of course they need some artwork to put there. So what they've done is they've kind of emulated one of the sides of the cassette case here, right? So instead of having the 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment logo, it has the Phantom Menace 25th Anniversary logo, then the Star Wars with the one behind it, although slightly different sort of gradient look to it. Then the title, then Qui-Gon with Obi-Wan there, and at the bottom, instead of your THX stuff, your Lucasfilm stuff, your product number and all that, instead, as you would expect, it says one pair, gives the size, in this case large/extra large, a picture of a pair of socks, size 9 to 13, and then a little bit of copyright legalese way down there at the bottom for Rock'em Socks. And it does have that thing that looks like the little tab you would punch out on a VHS cassette, or that would already be punched out on a store-bought cassette. For those who are unfamiliar with VHS, basically this is what kept you from accidentally recording over something. If it was popped out on a cassette, then you could not record on it. If the tab was still there, you could record. So you would pop it out if you wanted to preserve something, but then if you ever wanted to re-record over something that you'd already popped the tab out of, you just take a little piece of tape and stick it over that little hole, and suddenly you could record on it again. There were simpler times. Once you open it up, again, it's a magnetic flap. Opens up like this. Socks are inside. Underneath, pattern to look like a VHS cassette as well. It's more like this here. So that would be, you know, at the beginning of the cassette, as opposed to at the end and kind of upside down looking there. The socks themselves look like so. Kind of moving around the stuff in that image, but you've got Maul, you've got Qui-Gon, you've got Padme, you've got Obi-Wan, you've got Anakin, Jar Jar, the pod racer, the title of the film, and then on the other side you have just Star Wars Episode 1, the kind of that purplish background, a Lucasfilm copyright. The size down here, it just kind of fades to black. And it is the same on both socks. Nice and garish. Wear them under something, because otherwise people are going to think you have tattooed from your ankles upward. Notice, though, unlike the Jedi ones that had the little band around them, these do not. There's no band or anything around this. So a couple of changes since the last time around in the last year. No band this time, no individual hand numbering, but again, taking this sort of nostalgic VHS approach to addressing a special anniversary of a Star Wars product. Of course, 25 years of the anniversary of the release of Phantom Menace on VHS would actually be next year, 2025, but for theaters, 2024, and of course this is to celebrate that specific anniversary. Pretty neat. Limited to 100. If you can get it, jump on there. They are still running advertisements on Facebook right now, so they may not have sold out yet. But again, it is Rock'em, Rock apostrophe EM, Rock'em Socks, 25th anniversary Phantom Menace socks in various sizes. I didn't care about size because I'm not going to wear them. I'm collecting them, but your mileage will certainly vary in that regard. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching. May the Force be with the home video viewers. And I guess those that wear socks, which is pretty much everybody.